Okay, welcome back. Here we are seeing actually the visuals of, these are live visuals coming from Hyderabad House in the capital, where the President Obama and Prime Minister Modi are walking around the Hyderabad House after the delegation level talks. We are being told that there will soon be a press conference by both of them. So this is interesting. I now have with me Mr. Rajiv Sikri, former ambassador and Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Shomajit Roy from the JNU, and KP Nair, consulting editor of the Telegraph. Mr. Sikri, these are interesting visuals.
Yes, I think it's a bit unprecedented as far as I can make out. Normally these things happen on the spur of the moment, but this had been planned. And apart from the signal that the two leaders share a special rapport, I think these one-to-one talks also serve the purpose of discussing highly confidential matters.
Absolutely. Or
coming to some understanding which the principals do not want to be discussed in a wider format. I mean, we've had in the past the situation where there's a one-on-one meeting, but that's generally in a more formal setting in a room. Here, I suppose it is in keeping with the style of both Prime Minister Modi and President Obama that they want to do it in this way and showcase to the world that they share a rapport and that they are, discussing some confidential matters. Maybe they're just talking about the flowers. We don't know.
We don't know.
It creates an impression that they're discussing serious stuff.
Absolutely. The impression which one gets, KP Nair, what is the impression you get watching these visuals? We just saw Obama putting his hand on the shoulder of Mr. Modi, and there seems to be quite a lot of informality there.
Actually, I'm not surprised because we are taking a leaf out of the American book, because it's quite common for visitors to the White House to be taken to the Rose Garden.
Right.
And I remember in my memory the first time this happened with an Indian leader was when Jaswant Singh, as External Affairs Minister, went to Washington, and George W. Bush, who was not supposed to meet him,
right.
They have this drop-ins,
right.
And George Bush dropped in, and then he was so in on India. He suggested to Jaswant Singh, let's go for a walk in the Rose Garden, and she showed him around the Rose Garden, So in America, this is the tradition, and it appears now that Prime Minister Modi has taken a leaf out of the American protocol book.
Look at the settings. The setting is quite impressive. There are these two leaders, warm winter sun, luckily for them today, and sitting out in the open having tea. There's nobody to serve them tea also, Mr. Sikri.
I think the American media is very focused on backdrop.
Right.
So these visuals matter a lot, particularly in the United States, where you have to attract eyeballs.
Right.
What is the president doing, and So I think Mr. Modi is very good at
creating this kind of opportunity.
And also sort of understanding what is it which will go down well with America.
आप eyeballs पे जिक्र कर रहे थे, लेकिन यहाँ चूँकि लॉन्ग शॉट की मजबूरी है कि हमें अभी तक चेहरे के एक्सप्रेशन देखने को नहीं मिल रहे हैं, हालांकि अभी तक तस्वीरें बदल गई हैं तब तक, लेकिन शायद आप ये भी देखना चाहेंगे सिकरी जी कि आखिर उनके चेहरों पे जो है वो क्या इबारत लिखी हुई है।
नहीं, वो बड़े खुश हैं, अच्छी बातचीत हुई लगती है, पर देखिए अभी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस होती है तो उसमें क्या कहते हैं, पर माहौल तो अच्छा लग रहा है।
लेकिन आप ये जरूर मानेंगे कि पिछले प्रधानमंत्रियों के मुकाबले इस बार जो है एक अलग तरह की गर्मजोशी नजर आ रही है, एक अलग तरह का जिसे बहुत ही इंडिविजुअल टच कहते हैं वो नजर आता है। शायद ये प्रधानमंत्रियों की शख्सियतों का भी फर्क है कि वो रिजर्व हुआ करते थे।
मैं नहीं समझता कि डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह वो कर पाते जो मोदी जी कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि वो शख्सियत अलग है। और मोदी, प्रधानमंत्री मोदी बहुत खुले मिजाज के आदमी हैं जो कि सीधी बात करते हैं, और ये जौन सी है चीज़ अमेरिकन्स को पसंद है कि सीधी बात करिए, क्या डील कर सकते हैं, चलिए कट थ्रू द ब्यूरोक्रेसी, कट थ्रू द फॉर्मेलिटीज, सीधी बात करते हैं। तो
सॉरी प्लीज।
इसीलिए मैं समझता हूं कि मिस्टर ओबामा ने भी रिस्पॉन्ड ठीक तरह किया है कि देखिए, here is a man with whom I can do business.
And you know what is very interesting, Arfa, is also that these are all very well planned. Look at the camera shots, the camera angles. There have been, very well planned before.
Yes.
In fact, Nayan, this kind of planning, we have not seen before of any leader, any world leader coming to India, and this kind of atmosphere which has been created. KP Nayan?
One can make out that the events are going very well because Obama is a very transparent man. I watched him since 2004 in Washington, and he can be very aloof if he is not interested in something, but one can see that he is absorbed. He is very intense. Right. So obviously there is some hard talk going on. Otherwise, one could make out from Obama's demeanor. Right. If that is not the case. So one has to be very optimistic about the outcome of what is clearly going on there.
लेकिन केवी नायर जी, आपने चूंकि जिक्र किया कि बिल्कुल अमेरिकन जो हैं वो सीधे सीधे नतीजा चाहते हैं, लेकिन खबरें इस तरह की भी आ रही हैं फिलहाल कि शायद एक ब्रेक थ्रू पहले से ही जो है मिल गया है. क्या इस तरह की कोई संभावना दिख रही है आपको, केपी नायर जी?
Can you repeat the question?
जी, मैं ये पूछना चाह रही हूँ आपसे कि जिस ब्रेक थ्रू की बात हो रही है, बार बार जिक्र हो रहा है ब्रेक थ्रू का, कि इस बातचीत से प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में सिर्फ उसको अनाउंस करना बाकी है, क्या आप ये समझते हैं कि इस तरह के ब्रेक थ्रू के पहुंचने की संभावना है?
ये ब्रेक थ्रू का बात नहीं है. They are trying to lay the foundation for a future pattern of relationship. I think after the relationship hit the plateau in the last 4 or 5 years.
मैं न्यूक्लियर डील के बारे में, I am specifically asking about nuclear deal.
You're specifically asking about
nuclear deal?
Nuclear deal. My understanding is that it's not easy. There may be a statement or something to the effect that gives the impression that there is progress, but I don't anticipate a breakthrough as such in the nuclear thing, because it's very complicated. Even assuming that the things that one is reading about are happening, it is subject to legal challenge. Whatever is being contemplated, because it's a matter of law, it is open to legal challenge. So while there may be something that papers over the differences and gives the impression that there is progress, it is not easy to have a breakthrough.
Because you are saying this becomes all the more complicated since the law has been enacted in India, and to change the law we'll have to go back to the parliament, and the kind of domestic politics we see these days, you don't think it's conducive?
No, the options that one is reading about, one is not sure. One can only go by the speculation that has appeared in the public domain. All that is open to legal challenge. In India, anybody can file a PIL and say that this is in violation of the law, and that is really not going to be easy.
राजीव सिक्री जी, अगर ये अमेरिकन पर्सपेक्टिव से इसी चीज को देखने की कोशिश करें तो भारत में तो ये बात सही है कि संसद में वापस जाना होगा कानून को और फिर से दोबारा जो है वो अमल में लाना होगा, लेकिन अमेरिकन पर्सपेक्टिव से अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति को भी इतनी ताकत नहीं है कि वो जो है वो दोनों कांग्रेस के सदनों के मुकाबले जो है वो कोई चीज आगे बढ़ के कर सके बिना उनकी स्वीकृति के.
देखिए, जो हमारा कानून अब लागू हुआ है उसको बदलना नामुमकिन है, क्योंकि डोमेस्टिक पॉलिटिक्स ये आपको परमिट नहीं करेगा. तो कोई तरीका ढूंढना होगा, जैसे बात चल रही है कोई कैटास्ट्रोफी बॉन्ड या इंश्योरेंस पूल या सॉवरेन गारंटी.
लेकिन उसके बारे में भी सवाल उठाए जा रहे हैं कि भारत क्यों उसे वहन करे, उसमें भी टैक्स पेयर का पैसा जो है
वो है. अब ये जो सा मामला है ये तो पॉलिटिकल डिसीजन है. जब यूपीए थी तो उनके पास नंबर्स नहीं थे. अगर ये एनडीए सरकार समझती है कि हम ये इसको कर सकते हैं, और अगर ये मोदी जी ने इस पर अमल कर दिया, तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा कॉन्फिडेंस बिल्डिंग मेजर होगा, क्योंकि वो दिखाएगा कि अगर मोदी साहब चाहते हैं तो कर सकते हैं.
Mr. Sikri, anyway, we will just have to wait for a few minutes to know if any such breakthrough has happened. There's no point in speculating at this point of time. But again, looking back at looking at the visuals which we are watching right now, there seems to be quite an intense discussion going on there. It doesn't look like they're discussing flowers.
No, of course not.
Huh?
I was just making a light-hearted remark. But if you see the body language, both of them are leaning forward.
Exactly.
Which is a sign of engagement. It's not that they are sitting back relaxed in a chair. It's leaning forward means they are talking something serious.
एक्सप्रेशन भी देख सकते हैं जिनके बारे में हम बहुत ज्यादा बेचैन थे देखने के लिए.
It looks like something. It looks like something needs to be clinched, and both of them seem to be anxious about it.
Yeah, they're not sort of simply enjoying a cup of tea. They're just
absolutely. Professor Roy, what is the impression you get when you see the visuals?
You know, certain things I need to say here. One that I am reminded of is that Prime Minister Nehru, in the early part of the 60s when President Kennedy was there, had made a visit to the White House, and this brings to mind the bonhomie between the two. So that is one that brings to that comes to my mind. The second thing is that Narendra Modi is the leader of the same Hindu nationalist BJP, about which the United States has made a lot of noise at one point of time.
Right.
And the party which made a lot of noise is in majority in Congress. So, these two things that need to be kept in mind. The other thing that needs to be kept in mind is that I think we are going overboard regarding the presidential visit. Are Americans going overboard? That has to be seen. The same level of enthusiasm is missing. I believe it is missing.
Okay.
So,
Nair, would you agree with Professor Roy on that? That the same kind of enthusiasm which we witness in India about the visit, we don't see it in America. Is it true? Is that the way Americans are looking at this?
Actually, it's interesting that the professor should make these points, because I entirely agree with him. Number one, this is the first time that anybody can remember that there is no press charter coming with the American.
I wanted to come to that. Good you made mention of that. Yeah.
So that shows that in the American public domain there is not much interest in this visit, I mean, the American media generally described it as a presidential effort to watch a parade and see the Taj Mahal, I mean, part of the reason why there is no press charter is because the American media doesn't expect
sorry, Mr. Nair. Actually, the two leaders have finished their tea, and now they're walking back. I suppose they'll walk back to a podium where they'll be addressing the joint press conference.
राजीव जी, और इसी वजह से जिससे पहले की बातचीत शुरू करें, शायद जितने भी मैं अभी ट्वीट्स पढ़ रही हूँ जो अमेरिकी अधिकारी आए हैं फिलहाल प्रेसिडेंट ओबामा के साथ, उसमें से किसी ने भी न्यूक्लियर डील या किसी भी मुद्दे का जिक्र नहीं किया है। सिर्फ ये कहा है कि उन्हें बड़ी खुशी है इस बात की कि वो रिपब्लिक डे के मौके पर भारत आ रहे हैं और जय हिंद कह के बातचीत को खत्म किया है। इसके अलावा तमाम जो मेजर वेबसाइट्स हैं वहाँ के अखबारों की, वो मैंने देखे हैं। यहाँ पर तीसरे, चौथे, पांचवें, छठे नंबर पर भी हेडलाइंस में जो है ये नहीं लिखा गया है कि राष्ट्रपति ओबामा यहाँ पर हैं और क्या कुछ हासिल करना चाहते हैं। तो क्या हमारा एंथुसियाज्म जो है, जिससे हम बात कर रहे हैं, क्या वो समझा जाना चाहिए या आपको लगता है कि ये अनड्यू है? नहीं,
देखिए, एक बात होती है कि एंथुसियाज्म सरकारी तौर पर क्या है और दूसरा है कि जनता के बीच में क्या है। अगर प्रेस के इतना कंटिंजेंट नहीं आया है तो इसलिए भी है कि हमारी प्रथा है कि सब जो सब प्रेस हाउस, व्हाइट हाउस के प्रेस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट हैं, उनको सब जगह जाना नामुमकिन है। पिछली बार जब ओबामा जी यहाँ आए थे तो कुछ एक तो बड़ी मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग भी हो गई थी, क्योंकि स्पेस लिमिटेड होती है और उनकी प्रथा ये है कि जितने भी लोग हैं वो सब वहाँ जाएंगे। एक तो ये है। दूसरी बात ये, हाँ, तीसरी, चौथी, पांचवी जगह पर होगा, पर मुझे नहीं पता कि जब बाकी लीडर से मिलते हैं तो अमेरिकन प्रेस उनको किस तरह रिएक्ट करती है, कि वो फ्रंट पेज देती है या नहीं देती है।
नहीं, मैं थोड़ी सी बात जो आपसे कहना चाह रही थी कि यहाँ पर चूंकि रिपब्लिक डे भारत का है, लेकिन रिपब्लिक डे पे से ज्यादा आप जानते हैं पूरी तरीके से ओबामा साहब की विजिट से ओवरशैडो हुए हैं डिस्कशंस। अगर मीडिया के ट्रांसमिशन को कोई पैरामीटर माना जाए, अगर ये माना जाए कि शायद जनता में भी उतना ही उत्साह है जितना मीडिया में है, अगर इसे मान लिया जाए, तो क्या ये कहा जाए कि ये कम से कम उत्साह ओबामा साहब आए थे तो उनकी टीम में होना चाहिए था, बजाय इसके कि हमारे यहाँ हो रहा है? क्या आपको लगता है कि ठीक है ये हम जो कर रहे हैं?
नहीं, देखिए, द फैक्ट दैट प्रेसिडेंट ओबामा हैज एक्सेप्टेड द इनविटेशन, दिस इज a public engagement which signals the coming together of two democracies. That this is a change which he wants to signal. Okay, he is one player in America, the most important player, but there are other players in America also. There is the, for example, when Prime Minister Modi went there, there were so many congressmen and congresswomen and senators who were present there. That was also America there. So when the event was taking place there, many people turned up there. CEOs turned up there. So I really don't think that it's a different matter that we as a country maybe, and the press in particular, media in particular, tends to go overboard. But that's our problem. It has nothing to do with.
Professor, do you want to take this question? Reflection जो है American media में, क्या वो American public का reflection है? जिस तरह भारत में हम देख रहे हैं कि क्या media को एक parameter माना जाए भारतीय जनता की जो भावनाएं हैं उसका?
Yeah, I mean the American media, as I said, neither the people nor the media has shown the same level of enthusiasm. The other thing that I'd like to attract your attention to is neither has Obama's party, and we must remember that he is a leader of a political party and will not do anything that will endanger his party's prospects in the coming elections. His party, in its 2012 platform, something that we call manifesto in India, has mentioned India only once. It has never said that it needs India as, as a partner in fighting terror or something. It has only mentioned that it will invest in a strategic partnership with India to support its ability to act as a regional economic anchor, one, and the other is to serve as a provider of security in the greater Indian Ocean region. These are the two roles which the United States, of course, recognizes that India has the ability to act as a regional economic anchor. And when we say anchor, we need a level of economic stability, because the anchor cannot shake, no? And a provider of security in the greater Indian Ocean region. But that is the only time in which India is mentioned in the platform.
No, but all of this is well taken, Professor Roy, but if this was not the case, then why would the President of the United States accept the invitation in the first place? Two, why would he prepone his program, his congressional address? Why would he do all of this just to probably just be here and celebrate Republic Day of India?
See, I mean, he succeeds a president who is supposed to have given a lot to India in the form of the civil nuclear deal. And it is by, criticizing him a lot, his administration, his record for the 8 years, especially his record in Iraq, that he came to power. He was first elected in 2008 and then subsequently in 2012. Now, as the third democratic president to visit India, he is the third democratic president to visit India. First was Carter, the second was Clinton, the third is he. He, of course, would want to leave his own mark on relations with India. And of course, presidents may have their own agenda, apart from his party's agenda. But again, I would repeat that he would not do anything that would put either him, he cannot be in jeopardy anymore because it is a lame duck presidency.
But the crux of the matter is that India should not expect anything concrete coming out of the summit.
I believe that India should not keep very high expectations.
Mr. Sikri, coming to that, we are just at the verge of listening to what is the outcome of it. So speculating at this point of time what will come.
I just want to give a little background. I don't agree with Professor Roy. I think that the situation globally has changed a lot since 2012. It is true that in 2012 Mr. Obama had taken his eye off the ball as far as India was concerned. But in the last couple of years, what has happened? The problem of terrorism, ISIS, Iraq, Syria, imploding Pakistan, withdrawal from Afghanistan, all that has compelled the United States to look at this region more carefully. There is the rise of China, which is being seen increasingly as a threat. There is the new hope and growth in the Indian economy. and there is a new Indian leader who actually the Americans and the rest of the world believe can deliver. So with all these changes, if Mr. Obama thinks that it is worth his while to invest so much time and effort in paying a visit to India without jeopardizing, as Professor Roy says, his party's prospects, and hopefully by giving some new policy thrust, a strategic thrust to his to the last 2 years of his presidency, then I think it's all right. I don't think we should underestimate. You know, I don't think it's lame duck. I don't think it's lame duck. It is. He does not. He has still 2 more years, and the American president has a lot of executive powers. Now, if he's going to follow policies with which the Republicans are in agreement, because many of these things were started by the Republican administration, Bush, the nuclear deal and so on and so forth, then I think that you may actually have a bipartisan consensus in the United States.
Mr. Nair, I think there was some reference to it earlier also when we discussed this. The continuity as far as the U.S. government's attitude towards India in the last 10 years. If we have seen a Republican president and followed by a Democratic president. So you expect this kind of continuity, whatever decisions are to be taken today, what we would hear in a few minutes. These are things which, about which we as Indians, as a country need not be worried about the continuity aspect of it as far as Americans are concerned.
Yes, I do. I do think there will be continuity, but more than that, Republicans and Democrats are agreed in the Congress as far as India is concerned. There are I think 60 judges appointments waiting for confirmation in the Senate. The only judge, federal judge who has been confirmed is Sri Srinivasan. And he was confirmed because he was an Indian.
Right.
I think there are some 30 odd ambassadorial appointments waiting for confirmation. The only confirmation that has taken place is Rich Verma.
Right.
And it was not just because President Obama was coming to India. It was because it was India. And Rich Verma being an Indian American, I think it went through, So I think we have an advantage in the Congress. And to that extent, even if Obama is a lame duck, as everyone keeps saying, there are a lot of India-related things that can be pushed through in the Congress. So there will be not only continuity, there will also be movement. And earlier it was speculated that India cannot expect anything. I mean, India cannot expect anything today or tomorrow, but this visit is extremely important.
And also, Mr. Nair, why the expectations are higher this time around is also because of the fact that he may be in the last phase of his presidency, but at the same time there has been a record of former presidents who've done better in the last phase of their presidency because they want to leave this positive legacy. So do you think this is one of the reasons why there is this hyper coverage in Indian media and also in the political establishment?
Actually, in terms of expectations, I think there is a gap between expectations in the media and the expectations in the government, I think the government has a more realistic view of things. In the media, in the public domain, there's been a lot of hype. Partly because Obama is a very colorful character, Michelle is a fashion icon. So inevitably their visit on an occasion like the Republic Day leads to a lot of hype. But I believe the government is more realistic about it.
Absolutely. I don't think we can blame the government for the hype, it's purely a media created hype, Mr. Sikri. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Well, just a small point on fashion. I was reading that Mr. Modi is known as a fashion icon.
Absolutely.
And he's changed his dress twice, whereas Michelle has changed it once.
No, I think he has changed it twice. We have not seen it.
On a more serious point,
I think this is the third time. I think this is the third time that he's changed his dress. Professor Roy, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted, why did I say that we should not expect much? Because I checked the voting records of the Henry J. Hyde civil nuclear deal, that Henry J. Hyde Civil Nuclear, India-US Civil Nuclear Cooperation Act. One of those in the Senate, the US Senate, who voted against that act was a certain senator from Illinois known as Barack Hussein Obama.
What is happening there?
So that is why I said that we should not expect too much, because one of those who voted against that act, the Civil Nuclear Cooperation Act, was then Senator Obama. That is why I said we should
That's the
not
point you want to
expect.
make. Do you want to?
Not very enthusiastic.
I wanted to add something on what Mr. Nair said, and that is the Indian-American factor. I think it's very important because when Mr. Modi went and had the address at the Madison Square Garden, he signaled and brought home to the US President and the establishment the political clout that Indian Americans have in the United States. So when the Democrats are going in for elections to presidency or even to the Congress, this is going to be an important factor. And closer relations with India may help them to get the money and the political support of the Indian American.
नहीं, और राजीव सिक्का जी एक बात और नहीं भूलनी चाहिए, वो ये कि एक ऐसे राष्ट्रपति यहाँ आ रहे हैं, कुछ लोग उनको लेमडक कह रहे हैं, आप कह रहे हैं इस बात से असहमत हैं, आप चलिए छोड़ देते हैं इस टर्म को। ये बताइए कि एक ऐसे राष्ट्रपति हैं वो जो ऐसे जरूरतमंद हैं, जिनको हमारी जरूरत है, उनका जो आर्थिक हालात हैं वो फिलहाल इस बात के लिए उन्हें पुश कर रहे हैं, उन्हें आगे भेज रहे हैं कि वो भारत आए और यहाँ आकर डील करें। तो अगर भूल जाएं कि हमें किस तरह की राजनीतिक जरूरतें उन्हें हमें है, आतंकवाद पे उन्हें हमारा सहारा चाहिए या नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन कम से कम एक आर्थिक जो हालात हैं उस पर तो जरूर उन्हें जरूरत है। कितना कर पाएंगे ये अलग बात है।
नहीं, बहुत आपने अहम बात का जिक्र किया, क्योंकि जब सारी दुनिया देख रही है, क्या जापान, क्या ऑस्ट्रेलिया, क्या साउथ ईस्ट एशिया, चीन देख रही है कि हिंदुस्तान में कुछ तब्दीलियां आ रही हैं और हमारे लिए मौका होगा पूंजी निवेश के लिए, तो अमेरिका के पूंजीपति भी देखेंगे भाई हम क्यों पीछे रहें, अगर यहाँ कुछ हो रहा है जिससे हमें फायदा हो सकता है तो हम भी जाएं। और हमारी क्षमता इस संदर्भ में बहुत है, टेक्नोलॉजी में इन्वेस्टमेंट बहुत है, तो अमेरिका भी देख रहा है। अब IMF ने भी कहा है कि हिंदुस्तान की जो सी इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ है 6.5% अगले साल हो जाएगी, चीन से बढ़ जाएगी। तो ये सब जो सी हकीकतें हैं ये सब देखनी।
प्रोफेसर रॉय, एक अमेरिकन प्रेसिडेंट इस तरह आ रहे हैं भारत, जहां वो एक खरीदार भी हैं और एक दुकानदार भी हैं। ये कहा जा रहा है कि अपने डिफेंस जो है वो इक्विपमेंट्स बेचना चाहते हैं, हम टेक्नोलॉजी लेना चाहते हैं, इस तरह की डील्स हमारे साथ करना चाहते हैं इकोनॉमिक, जहां वो अपने देश में जाके वापस ये दिखा पाएं कि ये सब कुछ लेकर आए हैं। भारत में भी अगर देखें तो प्रधानमंत्री मोदी के सामने भी विकास का पूरा एक एजेंडे के साथ, जिसके साथ वो सत्ता में आए हैं, वो उनके सामने अभी भी खाली पड़ा है और वो दिखाना चाहते हैं कि अपनी एनर्जी की जो हमारी जरूरतें हैं उनको पूरा करेंगे वो इस न्यूक्लियर डील के जरिए, और जिस तरह से विकास के नक्शे पे आगे बढ़ेंगे। तो क्या कहा जाए, ये जो बायलैटरल रिलेशंस हैं इसमें कहीं ना कहीं दोनों देशों का नेशनल इंटरेस्ट बराबरी का देख रहे हैं आप?
See, what is more important here is, since it is a presidential visit, the President of the United States would, of course, try to look to his businessmen in America as someone who had opened opportunities in India. How India as a market is or a trading partner is more beneficial to the United States. That has to be seen. United States cannot, whether it is the Democratic Party who is in the White House or the Republicans who are in the White House, the United States cannot seem to be as someone who is out to do a global charity.
Okay.
Whatever country is involved.
Okay, Mr. Sikri, just, you know, we just saw visuals of these two leaders. They've gone back into the Hyderabad house. You think, what do you think will be happening there now? Just before the press conference, there will be some, at delegation level, there will be some discussions and what is to be announced. What do you think will be happening inside there?
Well, I don't know what they've had the extended.
They've had the exchanges.
No, have they had the extended
yes,
delegation
they have.
level talk?
It started at 1:30 in the afternoon. So 3 o'clock they were expected to come out and then address a press conference. We are just half an hour.
No, but there was also supposed to be extended delegation level talks.
That was in the That was in the morning itself. Afternoon after one.
I thought there was going to be a restricted format talks, then the lunch, and then the walk and talk, and possibly then the delegation level talks. Well, if the full delegation level talks have not taken place, then the press conference would take place after that, I think.
The delegation level talks was scheduled at 2:15, and the media briefing was scheduled at 3 o'clock. So you think?
ग्रीश, इससे पहले कि हम उनका शेड्यूल चेक करें और आइटिनरी देखें, आइए पहले हेडलाइंस पर एक नजर डाल लेते हैं। राष्ट्रपति ओबामा और प्रधानमंत्री मोदी के बीच हैदराबाद हाउस में शिखर वार्ता। वॉक द टॉक कार्यक्रम के दौरान चाय पर भी हुई बातचीत। भारत और अमेरिका के बीच परमाणु संधि, आतंकवाद और आर्थिक सहयोग पर बात, तकनीकी हस्तांतरण पर भी चर्चा। व्हाइट हाउस ने ट्वीट कर कहा, राष्ट्रपति ओबामा को अतिथि बनाना सम्मान की बात, भारत अमेरिका रिश्तों को मिलेगा नया आयाम। राजघाट जाकर राष्ट्रपिता महात्मा गांधी को ओबामा ने दी श्रद्धांजलि, बापू को बताया विश्व शांति की प्रेरणा, लगाया पीपल का पेड़। और राष्ट्रपति भवन में बराक ओबामा को गार्ड ऑफ ऑनर, राष्ट्रपति और प्रधानमंत्री ने किया स्वागत, अमेरिकी राष्ट्रपति ने हाथ जोड़कर किया अभिवादन।